I'm Veronica Dudo. Tonight on EWTN News Nightly, fighting for Christians, President Trump turns attention to the plight of the faithful in Nigeria, and his plans could involve the military. We're at the White House. Upcoming elections as the government shutdown stretches into its second month. Americans head to the polls. We look at some of the big decisions they'll be making. Plus, the way, the truth, and the life.
In love, God will gather us together with our loved ones.
A report from Rome on the words of hope the Holy Father had for us and our loved ones who are no longer with us. These stories and more tonight.
From EWTN, the Global Catholic Network, this is EWTN News Nightly.
Thank you for being with us on the feast of St. Martin de Porres. Our top story tonight. President Donald Trump warns Christianity is facing an existential threat in Nigeria. He ordered the Pentagon to make plans for a possible U.S. military attack on the terrorists behind all the killing and suffering. The president is pointing his finger at the Nigerian government as well. White House correspondent Owen Jensen reports. Owen.
Veronica, President Donald Trump says thousands of Christians are being killed in Nigeria, adding that the U.S. cannot stand by as atrocities unfold. He issued stern warnings on Truth Social and addressed reporters on Air Force One.
They're killing record numbers of Christians in Nigeria, and they have other countries very bad also. You know that part of the world very bad. They're killing the Christians and killing them in very large numbers. We're not going to allow that to happen.
President Donald Trump also declaring on Truth Social, if the Nigerian government continues to allow the killing of Christians, the USA will immediately stop all aid and assistance to Nigeria and may very well go into that now disgraced country guns a-blazing to completely wipe out the Islamic terrorists who are committing these horrible atrocities. In addition, President Trump designating Nigeria as a country of particular concern. A formal U.S. declaration of countries it says are failing to act over religious freedom violations. The president of Nigeria responds, writing, "The characterization of Nigeria as religiously intolerant does not reflect our national reality, nor does it take into consideration the consistent and sincere efforts of the government to safeguard freedom of religion and beliefs for all Nigerians." The West African country, population 220 million, split almost evenly between Christians and Muslims, the violence affecting both faiths, and there are competing narratives over the cause of the violence. Earlier this year, Pope Leo prayed for the victims of a massacre in Nigeria that happened in June.
Prego affinché la sicurezza, la giustizia e la pace prevalgano in Nigeria, paese amato e così colpito da varie forme di violenza.
In London, the World Trade Organization chief and former Nigerian finance minister calling today for careful thinking on tensions in Nigeria.
This is an incredibly complex question. Let me say this. Nigeria is a very complex country. The situation is very difficult and needs careful thought. It has religious issues involved in it. It has resource issues involved in it.
President Trump also says we stand ready, willing, and able to save our great Christian population around the world. At the White House, Owen Jensen, EWTN News Nightly.
For more on the situation in Nigeria for Christians, I would like to bring in Paul Adamu. He is the West Africa Director for iReach Global, a nonprofit organization that supports and advocates for persecuted Christians in Africa. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Can you share with our viewers what it's like to be a Christian in Nigeria right now?
Being a Christian in Nigeria right now, I would say, is the most difficult time of our lives, because this is one of the most challenging periods of our life. It's been a repetition of attacks every day, every week, every month. We wake up with news of attack at different parts of the country.
Now, you were kidnapped by Boko Haram 2 years ago. Can you tell us about your experience being kidnapped, what happened, and how they treated you?
Well, honestly, that is the most traumatizing part of my life, and then one I don't always feel comfortable talking about it. But then It was a disheartening period. It was a very hard and difficult point of my life. So sometimes I find it difficult talking about it because it was not a good experience.
What did you think when you first heard President Trump's comments about Christians in Nigeria?
I was excited because at the beginning, it seems like the outside world are not aware of what is happening in Nigeria. It seems like we are all by ourselves and for ourselves. But first hearing it from the President of America, it really gladdens my heart, and I was so excited about it.
How do you keep the faith where you are, especially as Christians are being persecuted?
Yeah, I work in an organization, Irish Global, who are doing all they could to see that they reach out to these persecuted Christians in Nigeria. Irish Global has done so much, especially in Plateau State, where I reside, by helping these communities with aids and then providing them with discipleship trainings. So it's been keeping us up. It's been helping us be on our feet, and then helping these communities that are being attacked to know that they are not alone, that Jesus loved them through Irish Global.
What is your message to President Trump?
We are grateful. We are so excited at designating Nigeria as a CPC. It's one of the things we have always been clamoring for because it has helped the Nigerian government so far to be on its toes. Every day we wake up since the pronouncement, the government is on its feet. The news is always on the media, is always on the television or the radio, where we don't used to hear the issue of the crisis and the persecution happening in Nigeria. Now we are hearing it every day. So we are so grateful for what Donald Trump have done.
Paul Adamu, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It is day 34 of the government shutdown, and there is still no end in sight. But there is some relief for Americans who rely on the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. One woman talked about why this aid is so important.
I would go back to work if I could, but I'm 74. I worked over 30 years in my profession. I have paid my taxes. I've paid my dues. I'm not lazy. I would work if I could, but I'm disabled. We have to change our mindset about food stamps. It's not people that are lazy or whatnot. It is people that just cannot afford to feed their families, and they rely on this.
The Trump administration said today it will provide partial SNAP benefits for November after 2 federal judges required the payments to continue. The U.S. Department of Agriculture said it will tap $4.65 billion from its contingency fund. That would cover 50% of current allotments for eligible households, but the payments will not be available immediately. Elections in multiple states tomorrow are set to gauge how voters feel in the first year of Donald Trump's second presidency and whether Democrats have improved their standing with the midterm elections and control of Congress just 1 year away. Capitol Hill correspondent Eric Rosales joins us with the latest. Eric.
Good evening, Veronica. With the backdrop of a continuing government shutdown, voters in several states will be casting ballots tomorrow. Let's start in the state of California, where voters are going to be deciding a major redistricting initiative. Well, in Virginia and New Jersey, voters will be picking their next governor. But let's start in New York City, where all eyes are on the mayoral contest, where a self-described Democratic socialist is still leading in the polls by double digits ahead of tomorrow's election day.
The question before us is very simple. Morning versus night. Do we want it to be morning again in New York? Our time has come, New York. Our time is now.
Zohran Mamdani has galvanized young voters, vowing to lower the city's cost of living by taxing the wealthy and freezing some rents. He also wants to give New Yorkers free buses, childcare, and open government-run grocery stores. His chief opponent, former Governor Andrew Cuomo, is running as an independent and trailing in the polls.
He has offended the Jewish community. There is no doubt about that. He refuses to denounce globalize the Intifada, which basically means kill Jewish people.
With Republican nominee Curtis Sliwa refusing to drop out, the race has become one of the wildest in the city's history.
We are going to let the people choose the next mayor, not the billionaires, not the insiders, not the influencers. I trust people.
A real clear polling puts Mondami with a 15-point advantage over his nearest rival. President Donald Trump says New York City's federal funding is at risk if, quote, communist Mondami wins. We're also keeping a close eye on California's Proposition 50, a measure that would allow the state's Democratic leaders to temporarily bypass the state's independent redistricting commission. This would enact a more Democratic-friendly congressional map ahead of next year's midterm elections, including the elections in 2028 and 2030. Democrats hope to pick up as many as 5 seats. Governor Gavin Newsom says President Donald Trump started this redistricting, and he is trying to rig the election.
He hasn't delivered, and that's why, again, we're here, Prop 50, because he knows he's going to lose the midterms, and he's trying to rig the election before one vote is cast.
The candidates for governor in New Jersey were also crisscrossing the state in the final weekend. In that race, Democratic Representative Mikey Sherrill is facing off against Republican Jack Ciattarelli, a former state legislator. Both candidates have focused on the economy and cost of living.
The administration Donald Trump is running is driving up costs on everyone, from this tariff scheme where he's pocketing billions while people here in New Jersey are paying more from everything from a cup of coffee to the groceries.
She wants you to think that she's a moderate. A moderate? She supported Joe Biden's open border policies. She supported every one of his inflationary policies. She voted no on the Laken Riley Act. She supports sanctuary cities.
In Virginia's governor's race, former Representative Democrat Abigail Spanberger leads her Republican rival, Lieutenant Governor Winsome Earl Sears, 55% to 44%, according to the Emerson College poll. Meanwhile, we're keeping a close eye on the state attorney general's race as well. Polls have it as a toss-up right now against Democrat Jay Jones, who holds a narrow lead over the current state attorney general, Republican Jason Miyares. A very busy 24 hours for all these candidates ahead of tomorrow's election. Veronica will continue to follow these races and bring our viewers the very latest right here on EWTN News Nightly.
Thanks, Eric. Officials in Nepal say 5 foreign climbers and 2 local guides were killed after an avalanche swept through a camp on Mount Yalongri earlier today. Police say 5 others were injured at the base camp located about 16,000 feet up the mountain. So far, the nationalities and identities of the foreign climbers have not been confirmed. Rescue helicopters are unable to reach the site due to bad weather conditions. Instead, rescuers are reaching the site on foot. The mountain is considered a beginner-level peak, often climbed by those with little or no experience. Now to Afghanistan, where residents are digging through the rubble of their destroyed homes. A powerful 6.3 magnitude earthquake shook the northern region of the country yesterday. Officials say at least 20 people were killed and more than 640 others injured in the quake. The Ministry of Defense says emergency services have reached the affected areas. Rescue teams from the United Nations in Afghanistan are addressing on the ground and delivering urgent aid. Officials say the number of victims is expected to rise. Now to the UK, where a man has been charged with attempted murder after a mass stabbing on a London-bound train that left 11 people wounded. 32-year-old Anthony Williams was charged with 10 counts of attempted murder and may be linked to the stabbing of 2 other people just 24 hours before the stabbing spree. Police responded within 8 minutes of receiving calls. One witness describes the scene of the attack.
Everyone's running. A guy next to me is holding his arm covered in blood, saying he got stabbed, and he was right next to me on the train, so that was quite terrifying.
Police say the attack was not terrorism related and the suspect acted alone. We have a lot more still to come on EWTN News Nightly, including For All the Saints and Souls. EWTN News is in Rome, where the Holy Father celebrates the solemnity of All Souls, the message of hope he had for believers. And a popular show in Europe makes its American debut at a Catholic basilica. We'll show you how it will take viewers through centuries of art, culture, and music. Today, Pope Leo presided over a Requiem Mass for the late Pope Francis, as well as the cardinals and bishops who died this year, praying that their souls might be washed from every stain. At the Mass, the Holy Father affirmed that the departed lived, witnessed, and taught Easter hope and expressed his desire that their spiritual encouragement might reach pilgrims on earth. Pope Leo also said that in the silence of prayer there is hope in God, and he invited the faithful to live in that hope. Today's Mass comes after a full weekend for the Pope, who proclaimed a new doctor of the Church and celebrated the solemnities of All Saints and All Souls. EWTN News Vatican correspondent Valentina Di Donato has more.
During the Mass on the Solemnity of All Saints, falling on the culmination of the Jubilee of the World of Education, Pope Leo XIV proclaimed St. John Henry Newman a Doctor of the Church, bestowing on him one of Catholicism's most prestigious titles. His legacy, the Pope emphasized, is to form people so that they may shine like stars in their full dignity, an example of intellectual sanctity.
Tra le eredità durature di San John Henry, vi sono...
The lasting legacy of St. John Henry Newman includes some very significant contributions to the theory and practice of education. He wrote, "God has created me to do him some definite service. He has committed some work to me which he has not committed to another. I have my mission, but I may never know it in this life. I shall be told it in the next." In these words, we find beautifully expressed the mystery of the dignity of every human person and also the variety of gifts distributed by God.
Distribuiti da Dio.
The square filled with faithful witnessing this historic moment, the Pope recalled that the 38th and newest Doctor of the Church, through his writings like Meditations and Devotions, has left an indelible contribution to the theory and practice of education. The Holy Father said that he prays that Catholic education will help each person to discover their own call to holiness. St. Augustine, whom St. John Henry Newman greatly admired, once said that we are all fellow students who have one teacher, whose school is on earth and whose chair is in heaven.
Life shines brightly, not because we are rich, beautiful, or powerful. Instead, it shines when we discover within ourselves the truth that we are called by God, have a vocation, have a mission, that our lives serve something greater than ourselves.
La mia vita serve a qualcosa più grande di me stesso.
On Sunday, the Holy Father celebrated Holy Mass for All Souls' Day at the Verano Cemetery in Rome. As Pope Leo XIV walked through the cemetery, the Requiem was sung by the Schola Cantorum. Among the sculptures of angels and Madonnas, a gilded altar was used for the papal Mass. The Verano Monumental Cemetery holds the remains of hundreds of illustrious personalities from the world of art, history, literature, music, cinema, and theater.
La carità vince la morte.
In love, God will gather us together with our loved ones. And if we journey together in charity, our very lives become a prayer rising up to God, uniting us with the departed, drawing us closer to them as we await to meet them again in the joy of eternal life.
Nella gioia dell'eternità.
Serving as a reminder that although our deceased loved ones have left us in the physical world, their memory remains alive within us even as we continue to pray for their souls and all of the faithful departed. In Rome, Valentina Di Donato for EWTN News Nightly.
Elsewhere in Rome, a race against the clock to rescue a worker following a scary scene this morning. This medieval tower partially collapsed twice today during renovations on the structure. After the initial collapse, at least one worker was trapped under the rubble and another was critically injured. Rescuers say there are signs of life from the trapped worker. Later, another part of the structure collapsed and dust from the fallen roof debris hit the firefighters working on site. Rome's prosecutor's office has opened an investigation. Up next on EWTN News Nightly, a high-tech trip back in time. How centuries of art and music are being shared in a new immersive way at a Catholic basilica in America. The immersive sound and light show Luminescence is making its U.S. debut in Minnesota after captivating audiences across Europe. This experience is open to the public at the Basilica of St. Mary in Minneapolis, transforming the historic landmark through music, light, and storytelling. It runs through early 2026, and a portion of the proceeds will support the restoration of the Basilica. EWTN spoke with the show's creator, Roman Safati, shortly before its debut. Roman Safati, the creator of Luminescence, thank you so much for joining us. Tell us more about the show that's making its U.S. debut after a sold-out European tour for nearly 2 years.
Yes, Luminescence is an immersive visual and music experience that brings history, architecture, and emotion together through light, sound, and live music. We've been presenting the show in the most beautiful European cathedral, and now super excited to present our show in the US for the first time.
Now, this show is going to be commemorating America's 250th. Tell us what you have planned.
Yes, so we will be presenting this show in St. Mary Basilica in Minneapolis. This will tell and celebrate the 100 years anniversary of the Basilica itself, beyond the 250 years of the USA. And this Basilica was actually the first Basilica in the US. So we'll tell its story through 3D video mapping at 360 degrees with live orchestra, live choir, and a poetic narration.
What first inspired you to put this together?
I think Luminescence was born from a very simple desire to bring light back to heritage sites and churches to help people rediscover a sense of wonder and peace. And I believe we live in a world that moves very fast, full of screens, noise, distraction. And I felt that people were longing for beauty again, for silence, for peace. So that was the whole inspiration behind.
Now, nearly 1 million people have experienced it across Europe. What do you think resonated most with European audiences?
So for us, European, rediscovering their beauty and their history is very moving, because for centuries, generation and generation of believers have built these magnificent monuments. So that resonates very deeply in our heart.
So this is a brand new show making its debut in the U.S. What do you hope people will take away after attending?
I think, I hope they feel a sense of peace, the kind that stays quietly inside you. I hope they remember what it means to be moved by beauty and share that emotion with others. If they leave their eyes with, their eyes lifted and their hearts open, then we've succeeded.
You've called this an exploration of the emotional power of heritage. Can you share with us what that means to you personally?
I think more than ever, we need to bring people back together through a common history, a common line from generation, from our ancestors. So to me, bringing life into our heritage sites is a way to bring people together and reconnect them with the beauty that surrounds them.
Roman Safati, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for hosting me.
Today, the church celebrates the feast of Saint Martin de Perez. Born in Lima, Peru in 1579, he entered the Dominican order at just 15 years old and became a friar 12 years later. During his life, he was known for helping and teaching the poor, the indigenous, and those forgotten by society. Noted for his holiness, the faithful as well as civil and even ecclesiastic authorities sought him out for their spiritual needs. He died in 1639 and was canonized by Pope John the 23rd in 1962. Saint Martin de Perez, pray for us. We thank you for watching tonight. Remember, you can follow us on social media, Facebook, X, YouTube, and Instagram at EWTN News Nightly. I'm Veronica Dudo. Good night and God bless.